It looks weirdly distorted now. Yeah, that's really distorted. What's happened?
That's where...
Just switch all the things off and let it be wonky in its own way. We're playing around with filters on OBS to try and make the image square over. And you know what I think that needs to happen? Put it at roughly kind of eye level. So you have to do a little bit of adjusting. Should work better. Okay, so I've got a little bit of an Italian theme going on. When I say that, I mean, of course, Italian through the perspective of an idiot English person. And that side and drag it over. And you can expand out the other side.
This one won't go.
But not. Ah, right. Okay, that's the thing I need to fix. It's because I'm going to change everything.
Yep.
You just bring the other side out. That's fine. So I've got an old canvas going on here. That's okay. So you might be able to get the other end side of the canvas in now. So this has been through a few different pictures. There's a landscape under here somewhere, and then this is a sideways vase of flowers that I never painted. The flowers wilted before I could do anything about it.
Push it over. No, not the camera. The canvas. Just push it over to your right a little bit. That's cool. And then I'll figure it out from that.
Okay. So yeah. So I've got some fun colours to play with. I've decided the world needs more red in it, so tomatoes are a good way of going about that. Now I did a little scribble yesterday, just playing around with the colours. Oh. And I'll show that here. So that was yesterday's little play around with that subject matter. The green's a bit strong and the back's a bit dull, but actually I think it balances okay, and the red comes out in that. So you know, that told me something. I don't know if it's worthwhile in its way, but I've still got yesterday's palette on here, and that hopefully will prove useful. But what I'm going to do is to mix more of the colors I know I needed, and gather up that green. It's like a fairly central green from which other greens were made. And so there's this thing where we've got the colours from the tubes out around the edge of the palette. And then there's a next layer, which is the colours I've mixed, which again, I might not use directly. I might only use them to mix with. These are some of the highlight colours from the other side. So pull that together. Put it over here with the violets. So there's sort of two layers of colours that emerge before I get to the subtle mixes that happen in the middle. So yeah, that's the thought process there. Whether I managed to sort of hang on to that. That's my neutrally brown colour. That goes with the greens. It's part of the backgrounds. I'm going to put that over here. This cobalt blue is in the wrong place, but I'm not worrying about it now. And there's this darker green here. I'm going to put that there. It's not enough to do anything with, but it's enough to mix more and see where it goes in the oval. family of colours I made. That'll do for starters. There's other ones that are on here that might have been secondary mixes. That I can't remember what they were for or why I ended up with them. So that's okay, they can all go. There's this rosy orangey red here, which is present in the tomato. I'm going to keep that on the orange side. I've got these other reds here. I'm going to clear a bit of space actually. All that white.
We've already had a hello from Skinflower Music.
Oh, that's Matt. Yeah.
Hello, Matt.
Hello, Matt. If anyone is unfamiliar, Skinflower Music is the source of the soundtracks to my time-lapse films. Michael has been generous enough to let me use his music, so I do, mostly because it's free. But you know, some people like it. You know, no, it's really lovely ambient stuff. All done with the rather strict constraint of being done on a bass, a 6-string bass. So no sort of, you listen to it and you do sometimes imagine him surrounded by synthesizers, like Bruno from Fame. There's a reference you won't get.
Yeah, that's gone
your clueless
over my head.
face. Yeah, you don't remember the TV show Fame, then they weren't repeating that. Okay.
You carry on. You know, it's.
Oh, people will know it really well. It had an excellent theme tune as well.
And what's the theme tune?
It was about a bunch of kids in a performing arts school in New York, and I don't remember anything more about it other than that. But there was a lad called Bruno who played synthesizers, and sort of, that was his talent. And the rest of them were all singers and dancers, and just awful performing arts people that, you know. It was interesting that the rest of the university was clearly somewhere else, which is generally how they do it with performing arts, so that no one else has to put up with them. And they'd all be like dancing in the streets, wearing 80s leg warmers. I can hear the theme tune in my head, but I'm in no way equipped to perform it, which says something for the cast. Yeah, so it had this sort of minor theme build up, and then it goes major for the chorus. I don't know if it goes major. No, I think it stays minor, but it suddenly becomes all exuberant. Maybe if someone wants to really enjoy this live stream, they could put the Fame theme music on repeat in the background, and yeah, you'd be able to enjoy it without having to listen to me. Okay, so I've got this set of colours here, and that'll do for starters, really. I'm going to mix a decent amount of a few things. I'm going to need some more white. I haven't put any mixing white out, but I think I might, because, well, actually, you know what? I've got some of this unbleached titanium. We'll use some of that. Over this green. I want to make a softer green than I made yesterday. That's probably a bit more like it. Also a bit paler. That's my shadow green colour, but again, that's too green, so I'm going to put a bit of purple into that. And these will do for starters. They're not going to be perfect, but they're changeable. They're all exchangeable for other variations. As a base, it'll be fine, yeah. Even more purple than that. That's good. just hearing the Fame theme tune in my head. Hopefully anyone who remembers that will be hearing it too. And then it's got this big chorus. But I hadn't thought about that in a long time. So there it is, indelibly printed in my memory, along with various other things from adverts and TV shows that I never listened to them deliberately. Right. I'll come back. You get that right out when I need it. So I've got this darker green of the Italian dictionary. I don't think I'm going to deal with that just yet, but it's going to relate to these colours. It has to. So it's about as dark as this shadow, maybe a little bit darker. Maybe I'll put a little bit out now. Got some halo signing green. Need some cobalt blue because it'll soften it a bit. Let's see how much darker that is. Or a bit of that light. Right, that's really intense. Need more yellow.
Oh, we got Susan on board. Hi, this looks interesting. I'm sure it'll be great. You're such a good artist.
Oh, Susan's so lovely and far too flattering. I don't know how to deal with it. I very much appreciate you coming along and joining me. Ooh, so the greens are going to be tricky. Well, I can kind of see my contrast there. I'm going to stick with that for the moment. It's not going to be right, but I know it's as close as I'm going to get right now. So I'm just going to let that stand. Now there's a lighter version, but how much lighter? Really hard to judge. Use a bit of this. More of the yellow is going to be visible when it goes to the top. That's too yellow. Or maybe it's about right. Okay, so there's a sort of a guess at my my colours for my dictionary there. I'm going to want a dark red, so probably some more whatever this is. I imagine it's some cadmium, some alizarin. It's going to be really intense, and then brown that off a little bit. I did very little to it. Bit of that green, just take the edge off it. Best guess at the moment. If I put these colours in fairly flat and fairly thin, then I'm not going to have to worry about working into them and changing them and moving them around gradually. Now there's redder, more intense red colours to go in, but actually it's all pretty orange. There's all sorts of reflected colours as well, so I want a central colour that would do the job. And this will be it, I think. There's a bit of green in there, so I can still make it brighter. The green dulls the red down, makes it less intense. Other things. just to be really simple about it, I've got two yellows for that bottle. Or a bit of that red. So when I'm steering around some of these colours, I'm using the greens and things I've already mixed. So all the colours will kind of hang together. Let's take some of that, darken it a bit, darker red, and a little bit of the darker green. Dull it down. Sort of in the ballpark. And that's enough now. That's enough for me to sort of just chuck some shapes and colours on and see how they work. I'm not worried too much about the drawing at the beginning. I want to keep it really simple shapes. So I can get a few big brushes and just crack on. Using a tiny bit of thinners. These brushes have been recently cleaned, so they're still, yeah, there's still a little bit of thinners on them, so that might be just right. Oh, you achy? I'm going to start with that pale green. Start thinking about how I want my negative shapes to sort of fit together. Got a shape in there. That's going to lead down to nowhere near enough of this colour. I'm going to have to mix more, but in the meantime, I'll put some on and see what it looks like. And it's going to be a shape in there, and that's going to go around here. At the bottom of my book there. I'll join this together. Yeah, that's about right. Something like this. So I can already start to see those shapes holding together. It's going to go here. So maybe this is a good edge for the painting. Maybe I'll cut it off around here somewhere. But yeah, that's kind of a start. There's this browner colour over here. That was the other background. So already making a bit of that. Get in there. Oh yeah, so it's not proper coverage or anything, but there's some shapes there, and hopefully we can sort of recognise that. Right, next main colour that there's more of than anything else, there's this shadow colour, which is going to go in there. Maybe that's too, yeah, I think that needs to be browner. Maybe that's too brown. Somewhere in between. Oh no, it's definitely that blue or green at the bottom. There's some of those there. This is going to be way too yellow, yeah. That's what's going to be this more browny colour here. The label. I'm thinking of diagonals and things like that and how it matches with the shadow. Interesting. Sort of pushing the bottle over, which is going to bring the book in along with the tomatoes, but that's okay. Yeah. It's a little gestural mark there. It's not the right colour, but just to hold that place. That's not enough of a change. That will be darker. So we'll do that now. Or a bit of that green. Darker, that much darker. That's probably about, that's not far off. There you are. The rough shapes, all really rough. I'm already getting some little satellites, but some little colour references.
Satellites.
So
Point of reference.
If you look at the palette, you see this brown colour?
Yeah.
This colour came from it. This colour came from it. This is like a lighter version of this one.
Okay.
But they all relate to that original colour. Now, if I tried to mix one of these from scratch, I'd miss it.
Because it's not part of the core.
But as a relationship, I can find something much more simple. Yeah, and I haven't decided what to add to this green to make the darker part of the bottle work yet. It's sort of got a violet kind of look to it, but until the green's there, I can't just sort of guess at it because it won't make any sense yet. And thicker paint will sort of clear up where a lot of these outlines and edges are. The bottle's smaller now, which is going to change where the shadow goes, which wasn't dark enough anyway. Got a bit more of that in. Put it on 3 brushes, so I don't quite do that across here. That's about there. Get a bit darker, a bit lighter behind it. Maybe it'll be around here. That'll get a bit lighter on that side. Yeah. I'm just finding my way into roughly into the drawing. It doesn't have to be perfect. Put this orange in there. Oh, that's completely the wrong colour. And in the wrong place. But none of it's super urgent yet. So yeah, let's get the excess off that. A bit of light. There you are. There'll be some light in there. It's a bit browner. Yeah, something like that in there. The little hints of that's going to be more lemony. Again, see the satellites, little borrowed colours that extend out from the previous colour. There we are. Little lemony colour. That's a fun thing to find at this stage. While I've got that on the brush, I can say there's certain bits of this bottle which are going to have similar quality. It's going to be down here. I'm changing the shape of the bottle at this point. They're just little placeholders, just sort of things I can hang on to with my eye, so I can find my way back in later on. All of this is pretty rough, so I'm not going to be overly fussy with it. One thing I can do, I can make a lighter, peachier version of that colour and say the pages of that book start. Oh, crikey, where do they start? That's really tricky. I have to mix some more of that pale green, but this will do for starters. That goes up like that and across. that shadow colour moves it up as well. Maybe this comes down here. Okay, now I'm fiddling too much at this stage, but I'm not going to give myself too much of a hard time about it. Oh, that's pretty good. I'm not too worried about that. Okay. So what was I saying? Pages of the book. Yeah. They're going to go out there and go across, and it's going to be more orange than that. Now, orange, bit of white. Going to be much lighter, but that can come later on. As a shape, it's about there. And that would be okay. And the thing that's really going to help me land this, I'll just take the excess off that and put a few of these greens in. So that's going to be really intense, but I quite like that intense green. It's sort of awful and brilliant at the same time. And then this lighter green over the top. This is going to be so wrong, but good to get at least one strong colour on there at the beginning. That's an abstract shape. It will help me place my my tomato when it comes to it. The reflected colour, so that's not exactly right. So that's okay. That's not too bad. Right. So last brush, the unused one. I'm going to start with the darks. Just find some of these dark shapes. There is a dark shape that starts around here, wanders up around, and extends out into the shadow of the next tomato. So I'm not painting them as separate objects. This shadowy green that goes in here, just so I've got that negative space. Thinking about where it lines up. That's pretty close. I'm okay with that. So if that's there, this, come round. A bit up here. It doesn't matter too much if I overplay these darks because the light's going to go over the top of them, so I can change where the shapes go. And lining things up, that's going to line up around here somewhere. Right, and that's the top of that tomato. What else does it go? That'll do. I'll go over to the lighter colour now. Wipe the excess off the brush and then load this one up. At this point, I'm thinking about rearranging the tomatoes. It's probably too orange. Use a little bit of alizarin just to shift it in hue towards the red. And that'll do the same thing. Is that light enough? Not quite there. You know what? There's a lighter version over here. Use that orangey colour. There we go. It will get that contrast in there. Bring some of that around. The redder version. Go around here. But yeah, that's sort of enough of that for the moment. There's going to be some reflected colours and things, so I don't want to overload it at this point. Yeah, yeah, that's okay. That's all right. I'm gonna mix some more of this green, just a little bit. I'm gonna use that background color to do it with as well, and lighten it a bit. And this is just to sort of, I'm still on that first stage of just scrubbing in some color. So this is yet to be like a committed color feel, if you like, or theme. I've still got the opportunity to change it, so I'm not getting caught up with that. Let's see where these shadows are going to go in now, where they aren't yet. A bit more of that on there. Now I'll probably, well, say probably, I will trim this afterwards, and it will be an unusual shape and size of frame. Be a shadow color to go in here, but I'm not going to think about that too much just yet. There we go. Go in here. Right in there. Yeah, something like that. Okay. I've got this darker green color here. I'm wondering if that's too strong a color on the brush for me to go back into these shadow colors. A lot of these shadow colors are quite subtle, so I'm going to need a darker version of that as well. Yeah, I've got some black over here I mixed from before. Very bluey, so let's try a bit of that. Yeah, that works. Again, no, too much. I'm going to put some red in it. Just soften it a bit. So I haven't destroyed the original color. I've just made a kind of a variation on it. Yeah. And now while this is dark color on here, it needs to be browner. I brought some of that red. This is definitely kind of mixing on the surface. Purpley quality. It goes into there. There's a sort of angle to it. It will go into here as well. A bit darker in those areas. Not too much to it. There we are. Okay, that's as fiddly as I'm going to get about that. Well, I've got that dark colour and a warmer version of it. Put in roughly the shape of this label here. Again, just as a placeholder. And yeah. Okay, yeah, it's starting to make sense. So I've kind of got the image there already. And there isn't too much more to think of than that. I'm going to revisit some of these darks over here. Try and line that up. the label about here. Maybe a dark shape in there. Hopefully the other side of the, I did a line then, which I shouldn't do, but it's just a placeholder to think about the size of the cap. Didn't need to do that. I don't know why I did. There's that side of the bottle. That bottle might expand ever so slightly. If it does, there'll be a highlight up here. So I'm not thinking of these as outlines or edges just yet. And I haven't got the right colours, so I'm not going to try and mix them perfectly. I can see all sorts of things wrong with these greens, but I actually quite like how out of control this green is. But while I've got this ready dark colour, I'm going to mix a darker version of that. Let's see if that works here. Which kind of does, especially along that bottom edge. Oh, and while I had the red, I should have been doing the stripe on the book as well. But I've still got that on a separate brush, so let's do that. Finished on the lighter one, didn't I? This is actually going to get pinker. Let's see how that behaves. Too pink? Yes, that's too pink. I'm trying to resist doing a continuous stripe because yeah, then I could end up following my brush rather than my eye. That's too darker red. Go under here. Or is that okay? And a much darker red at the end. We'll follow that stripe around. Oh, there we go. That's simple enough. Yeah, so I guess the question is now, do I do each part separately and try and figure it out? Which I'm kind of tempted to, simply because it's sort of easier to do one thing at a time. Or do I just continue to try and work on the whole thing at once? You know what, I think I need a little bit of both. One thing I don't have, I've got that green, I've got this bluey version over here. I'm going to put in a few just little hints of where these stalks are going to go. Bits of dark. Yeah, like showing through there and showing through there. Other ones will go on afterwards, but for a starting point, that'll be fine. Yeah, I'll do for that. And it's going to have this, if it comes round, light attached to it. You get the sense that they're still on the vine. Well, I've got that dark green on here. And put a bit under there. Oh, yeah, that works. Okay, other things. Edges turn afterwards. Other things I can deal with. Oh, that's in this tree. That was all too dark. I do want to keep the intensity, but I do have to darken it down a bit to do there. I can lighten the background a little bit as well. So go along. There's this reflected yellowy colour. I'm going to make a bit of that off to one side. And that's the one I stopped myself with earlier. Reflected light comes off here. Give some shape to the book. Okay. Yeah, let's get that book in. I think I need to fix the drawing on it a little bit as well. I know, pretty much half and half. Kind of what I've got, yeah. Okay, yeah, little brick of a book, that one. Where am I? What's the time, Graham?
We are at 22.
Right, racing along here. Yeah, so there's things I'm already planning for, like the white around the and the writing on the book. Those are going to be useful things. Actually, be dark a bit there. This sort of smooth curve to that shadow. That's too much. Go back in with the stronger red here. Smooth curve to that shadow as well. Or maybe that. Exaggerate this tomato slightly afterwards. Make a more pleasing shape. Yeah, I think this is the interesting thing, that I'm kind of finding my way into this now. So brush mixes are the way forward. Don't need to do an awful lot more with that. I will need to put some more white out. Get some of this green, with the duller one. I want to keep this green quite crisp because it's sort of going to help all the other colours, help them hang together. Now there's that background on, I can use some of this and some of this violet to make a new colour, which is going to, with the help of some brush mixes, do my my transparent bit of bottle. Yeah, so I'm going to build these up gradually. That's too light, way too light. With me thinking it was all too dark. Crikey, no, way off. That's so interesting.
I quite like the statement of, I'm just going to paint this transparent bottle as well. It's,
I guess that would sound contradictory in a weird way.
yeah.
But it isn't. There are certain things.
Well, there are lights and darks and reflections.
That's exactly it. So that's.
But it as a statement itself, it doesn't sound.
Well, there's lots of things that artists get to say that don't make any sense, especially with regard to colour. You know, you can put red into a green, you watch it get less green and more muddy, and then you can describe that green as reddish. Whereas it doesn't make any sense at all. You know, you can't have a reddish green. Okay, that's too dark now, but I think I found the hue somewhere in between these. Really subtle. Okay. Set some bigger shapes. Is that too dark? Doesn't matter if it is, because I can always pull it back again with the. There we are. I'm seeing other qualities to it. So I've got this greeny purple here, which I'm adding a bit of yellow to. So now I've got a yellowy greeny purple. What we're talking about is a really neutral color. We're just steering it from one to another. Bit of a lighter version here. And in the process, we're sort of finding a set of relationships which rather defy language. But at a certain point, conventional language isn't really helpful because it can't describe what you're doing. I'm attached to the lid I've done earlier, but not convinced about that, so I'm going to soften that down. Oh, hang on. Is that the right button?
Not quite.
There we are. Yeah. Okay, now that's coming. Yeah, it's going to start to get tricky to sort of do everything at once. Neutral, somewhere in between. And there's also an interesting point in any painting where the palette is just this chaotic mess that doesn't make sense anymore. And predicting where that's going to happen and managing it is if it happens just before the actual image on the canvas is ready, so you've still got more to do and you're seeing new things that are going to make a real difference, but the palette just can't support it anymore because you got so carried away that everything's gone grey. That's it's a tricky thing to manage. There we are. So many subtle relationships of color going on here as well, because there's reflections, there's light traveling through things, you know. So I've got that purpley color. If I get some of this green and bring it in, is it going to look right? Is it going to be sort of a distraction almost? There's light traveling through the bottle, there's light bouncing off it and reflecting off it. Okay, while I've got this very dark purpley colour on, actually gets ever so slightly greeny there. I'm going to put that hard line in there. I'm not really painting a line, it is more of a shape, but I can really judge the drawing of this and can absolutely see where my lid is in the wrong place. Only slightly, but it is in the wrong place. I'm fiddling. Don't need to fiddle that much. Go back down to that shadow. Paper out. That one there. Too dark. This is a colour above it. I want to keep that vague, so I don't want to. Yeah. So many things going on. Right, let's go back to this brown. Darker version. Let's make a nice solid vertical mark where that's meant to go, which is here. And that's good. I think I'm happy with that. Make it out a little bit. Nice bit of subtlety. A little uprights. With a lid here. Very dark on one side and light on the other. If we can do that all in one go, I think we can. It's too much. Okay. If I go back to my background green, which I did mix a bit more of, it's this thicker paint now, it's slightly more opaque. Start to pick out some shapes. That's still not the right green. It's the browny colour in the background. There we are. The one. Take that edge off that. There we are. Fiddling there. Being too careful. There's a highlight to go on here, so that's what's going to rescue it at the end. But in the meantime, I think like that to just about hold it where this paint gets thicker and more opaque. And make more sense of this hard edge here. Now that does change colour. Oh. Whose hair? Don't want that. It starts higher up. Oh, here's an interesting thing. There's this light that spreads across. I've just seen. Goes across there like that. Spreads out. That's very interesting. And there's this slightly more golden version of it, which spreads out from here. The light reflects. Not quite a conventional reflection. It's not a shiny surface, but still this difference. Subtle difference. It's going to get yellower as it gets nearer. And that'll do for that, I think. Yeah, let's go back to that background colour again. Go to the other side. Make this a bit more solid. Now I'm going to come in with some sort of stronger colour. Don't make sense of it, but not sure it's quite. Is it symmetrical enough? Yes, it is. Stop fiddling. Fine. Come in with some stronger colour after that as well. Yeah. We're building gradually, mixing on the surface. All good fun, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. What's coming?
We are at 5-2, so if you're at a natural point, it could be a good way to go. Break.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna try a few little things. Of putting in a few shapes into this bottle. That need to be thicker paint too. Answering a couple of questions as I go along. bright as that's going. Damp a bit there. Down here. Normally I'd be putting a highlight in afterwards, but this needs some other colour around it. Okay, go towards the more orangey colours. Start to expand out from here and put those in. There. So I mean, a lot of this is just experimenting with what I can see. I'm seeing all these sort of other. Do I need a better ground in before I put this in? Is this okay? How much variation is there from one sort of yellow version to another? That's going to be more orange. That's paler and bluer. This clear change across here. So interesting. Little hint of that. Right, there's a more intense colour. Wander down here. Sort of intrudes on that brighter yellow I put in first. Turn up the colour in bits. It's a bit more orange. You can get a lot more orange than that actually. I'm going to try it out. There we are, in there. Definitely in here. Bit in there. Yeah, there's some little flash of it. Okay, if I go back to this brownish colour for that. And it kind of gets greener and yellower as it goes down. If I can find my way to that, that's going to be interesting. The first thing I'm going to do is get a little bit of this light. Again, this is very much a sort of satellite colour. And that's going to give me this edge here. And here. While I'm aware of it, I'm going to go to my darker brown, do the same thing with that little pale satellite off that, and carry on that line over here, so it carries on that sort of reflection. This hopefully will end up making sense to the eye. And then go back to the yellow, put a tiny dab of that green in it, work from the green upwards. So we've got green in here. That's that too light? I don't think it is. I think it's going to be okay. It goes underneath here, around here. And that might be enough of that for the moment. I'll get back to that dark brown. There again, a bit more red in it this time. Good. Put a bit more to it. Bit in there. What else? Bit in here. And I've got some of these dark lines that sort of travel around. There's going to be one there. Get away with red in that bit, even though it's actually a bit more red around the bottom. A few blobs in here. Darker just over at the edge. The last bit would be a really, really deep browny colour. Just going to do a brush mix here. Be alizarin. Yeah. I'm going to have that hard edge there. It needs to be darker than that. I'll put a bit of this black in it. Top. Middle of here. Anything else? Yeah, darker. Feel these sort of flicky shapes. Yeah. You know what? I think we can borrow a little bit of that. The edge of here, give it a bit more colour. And just before we have a break, go back into this. Right, I've already got this mauve I made before. That in here, and in here, in that side, that bit in there. Bit in there. Pretty well. I won't go as far as doing the bright highlights because I want them to be consonant across the surface. But that is the basis of a bottle that I'm quite okay with. And it's sort of set a theme, if you like, for the way the rest of the painting can work. There's things I can change about it. Things I might scrape a bit off, move things around, but yeah, I'm painting again at least, so.
So we shall be back in about 5 minutes or so. Enough to get a cup of tea.
What's a cup of tea?
Oh, a cup of tea.
Yeah.
We're back.
Back again. So coming back and looking at this after a short break does make a difference. You do start to think about the mood of the thing. I'm saving up the tomatoes till last. Not happy with the bottle. The base is wrong, but nothing I can't change. Now those colours are on the surface. I can have a little play with that. Let's do that now. Got this orangey colour. Need to scrape any away. A little bit, I think I do, yeah. And here, I'm going to put some of these dark colours in here. Down. That's better already. Looks a bit more stable. Then go back to some of these yellowy orangey colours are next. Back in here. A bit more orange. But I could overdo this if I'm not careful, so I probably am overdoing it. There's a nice mark there. Is that strong enough? For those highlights. Back in here, extra yellow. Fine. Yeah, you know, if it's coming out a little bit blurry and a little bit vague, then I guess that's what it's doing. I'm not going to stress myself about it too much. Twisting around here, a bit darker green, and then there's this lighter yellowy green. So now these colours are talking to each other a bit more. Yeah, not mixing it enough. I'm putting it on too thin. Yeah, I don't know. Could be a confidence thing. But I probably have already mentioned it's not exactly an artistic block, but I've had a kind of a bit of a break from painting seriously because I've been doing what people call proper work, but I'm inclined to disagree with that. Yeah, I feel like I've lost something along the way, and which is mildly frustrating, but it will come back. But it's quite hard to sort of just jump from doing things in order and being places on time to making something which is perhaps reliant on a certain amount of, what would you call it, lateral thinking. I don't know. So I'm thinking of the pages of the book here. That's pretty good. I like that. I'm going to try and do this sergeant style with one brush. And as few marks as possible. We'll see how that plays out. It's quite thick paint. I'm loading it up. Well loaded on the front of the brush. Do I need to do that white line first? I think I might actually. Brush for this. Oh. Okay. It's going to be a cooler white, maybe not quite that cool. It's going to go along here. Bit on the corner, and then bit down. Well, don't have to worry about this being perfect because it's going to get bumped into by this subsequent white colour. If I get some of my violet as well, this, I'll also use this for the lines and the writing on the side, but not just yet. Loading up that brush again, even though I did it before and it was fine. Drag that across one motion. Same thing here. Yeah, I'll do it. Not going to fiddle with that. Fine, does its thing. Anywhere else where that sort of thing needs to go? I could work it a bit into here. It's unbelievable, isn't it? It's not a car park. He'll just sit there with his radio on like that. Thinks it's fine. And I've asked him, and he doesn't. Just does it anyway. I thought I could eat yogurt by the window and just flick yogurt at him when he comes around. And go, well, I can't flick yogurt at you if I don't know you're there. What else am I meant to do? Oh, I'd flick paint at him, but, you know, I don't want to actually damage anyone's stuff. Excuse me, bit loud. Yeah, sorry, and I'm calm. Ah. Just, it's so irritating. Now I'm cross. I can't concentrate. So go and get the yogurt. We have a confrontation. At least it will be recorded. I feel sorry for him, mostly. It's a horrible job working for horrible people. But he's not doing himself any favours. Embarrassing. Sorry about that. Sorry everyone had to witness that. I'm sure no one witnessed that. Right. Shadowy colours here. Kind of a violet. Does it look like white? Oh, something's rumbling. Now, interesting thing with doing text, there's verticals. There's a height to width ratio of a word in capitals, which is quite easy to sort of manage. So the L is about this far along. And that's going to be the I. Now I'm not doing individual letters. I misjudged that. Yeah, it's a bit deeper than that. Ah, no, that was a bad direction. I've still got the green, so I can still try this again. Well, that's already terrible. Where's my green brush? Got my green, my darker green colour here. I'm going to go back to that. Yeah, I'd welcome suggestions as to what to do when someone's that inconsiderate. They just think they can do what they like and they don't care how it affects you. And you can ask them nicely if they wouldn't mind remembering that you exist. And then they just carry on anyway because they don't care. What do you do? You know? Do you just give in because it would be uncivilized to do anything else? Really hard to decide how to deal with it. Oh, that crap. Right, I'm actually going to use the little brush. I'm trying to resist using the little brush, but little brush it is. I'm all discombobulated now. Okay. Brush, here we go. I'm not getting the contrast. It's darker. Now there's more paint on there. Get a little bit of oil on this just to make it spread. See? Or a bit of that background colour. Maybe affecting on it.
What are your tips and tricks for writing text?
I think at the moment, my tips and tricks would be don't do whatever I'm doing. It looks awful. No, oh God, it's just ah! The thing I need to get, right, is the fact that there is a, I could hold a ruler to the top of the text, I could hold a ruler to the bottom of the text. So our eye sees that. If we start writing, it's easy to go bigger and smaller. This could be slightly in perspective from this angle. There's different things that can happen. The other thing is that you want the paint to sit on top of the previous lot of paint. So you need to have a more fluid. There's a few things I'm dealing with. I need more fluid paint so it sits on top and makes a clear mark. You need to really just see it as a structure rather than, see, that's not sitting on top well enough, but maybe it'll be okay. So I would generally do things like the verticals. Would look a bit like that, and you have to reload the brush every single time because there's some wet paint on there, and that's in the wrong place. I said slow down, take time. I'm talking to myself now. That's not advice, although it's probably good advice. That's the in, the out, and think of it as part of the drawing. And have both colours as well. So there's a text colour, but there's also the colour that's behind it, and having both will allow you to sort of change the shape of things. So there, I've just put the top of that in the wrong place. I can move it, and I've got the other brush with the other colour on. I can just put a little blob in there, and I can even go along the top of it. Might be a different colour. Trim that in there. So it's big enough that I can actually see the text. So in a sense, I do want it to read in this instance. Sometimes some artists will make sure you can read the text because it's an important part of it. So they'll almost do a little bit of sign writing in that bit of the painting. Some artists will only, and I've done both, some artists will only ever do splodgy shapes. Yeah, so that can come in afterwards like that. Some artists will only do splodgy shapes that hint at where the text goes. Let me get back to my shadow colour now. A bit lighter. Make it a little bit lighter than that even, I think. Like the yellowy quality reflected into it. I'll borrow a little bit of that yellow there and just put that in, see what it does. It's giving me the edge of the book now. Shadows get darker at the edges. Yeah. Okay, that's sort of better. I'm not happy with the cross on the T. Probably take that down slightly as well. You just think about where the line at the top of those that lettering goes. That's enough because I don't want it to actually spell out the words so much. I don't particularly care about that.
Emma Keys has just asked, is that a technical term, splodgy shapes?
Yes, yes, it absolutely is. Hello, Emma. Yeah, I think actually, you know, you could do a how to draw book and do a whole chapter and call it splodgy shapes, because it's that thing of that we've all got is this desire to see clear edges because it's a big part of how we see. So those clear edges are sort of what our eye is looking for. We want to satisfy our eye to some degree and give it those things that it can hang on to. But a lot of the time, your eye is figuring out for you, what those edges are. So you don't have to go all the way around an outline. You can just put the bits in that are important, and your eye will do the rest and figure out that must go there. And yeah, and it's a really useful thing to sort of hold off on doing those outlines. See how many splodgy shapes you can do, and how much your eye figures out from that. And if there's bits it can't quite figure out, or bits you want to make clearer, then you can add into it. Oh God, it's got no control at the moment. It's awful.
Sure. So just asked, what are you painting on?
This is canvas panel. So it's hard to think of the term. I use Michael Harding's non-absorbent primer, which has been immensely popular among oil painters. It's one of the biggest rigmaroles with oil painting is that you have to prepare your surface. You can't just paint straight onto a canvas. You can, but you're compromising a lot of your control of how much the paint is absorbed by the surface, how much the oil and leaches out into the surface. So it's common practice to sort of get a ground layer on, which can either be part of the painting or just a thing you do just to prepare the canvas in advance. And once that's there, okay. I'm going to leave that like that, actually. Is it near enough? Or, you know what I can do? Go back into this bright green over here. Consistent paper. And that will forgive my clumsiness earlier on. That's good enough. I'm not going to over egg it. What was I saying?
What about the canvas and the
primer
that you put onto it?
Yeah, so this primer means that the oil doesn't leach into the porous surface as easily. Yeah, that's always been a bit of a thing. A long time ago, people would prepare their canvases. First of all, they try and smooth them off to a certain amount. So you'd have this layer of oil, bit of sort of filler, like, you know, marble dust or, you know, crushed chalk, calcium carbonate of some form or another. And then you'd layer on thin washes of oil paint until it was almost sealed, not completely sealed, but, you know, sealed well enough that the paint on top would keep its luster, if you like. I think that's probably the best word. Word luster. And yeah, that sort of presence that oil paint has, it's in large part down to the fact that the oil remains in the paint and cures. So a painting onto a porous surface can easily go a bit dead and flat. What they call a dead layer, which can be useful, especially in portrait painting. But you want to be in charge of it. And so being able to just do one layer of primer with something that takes care of that seals it, is an absolute godsend. So when he came out with it, it was only available in white. And everyone was just banging on it and going, Michael, make some mid-tones, because I keep having to like mix acrylic paint with it. And, you know, I'm still having to do all this work and I don't like it. do it for me. And he obliged very well. So you can get it in all different colours now. So yeah, so that's what this is prepared with, and I like to scrape it as flat as possible with a giant palette knife, which
And is that literally just a case of scraping it along and making it?
yeah, and it does, it sort of pushes it into the grooves and takes it off the surface. You get a slightly smoother surface. So there's a bit of tooth there, but it's not 1,000 miles away from being a wood panel. Next thing, let's put a few little bits in there. A darker side onto that label. Well, I hope there's some comfort in watching me struggle with this.
Emma Keys has just said, "I want to have a go at oils."
Well, it's easy.
And you know, it being sort of the commercial aspects, well, there are certain oil classes that can take place.
Quite well. So Emma runs my the Sherborne Arts. I took on the admin really, but she's running Painting for Pleasure, and it's going very well, very popular. So for the moment, I mean, don't rest on your laurels. It'll all go wrong at any moment, so don't start feeling safe, whatever you do. No, it's so yeah, a natural at teaching and dealing with people. I think there's something about ADD people that are really good at being charming and understanding, because it's not a reputation I have really. Yet when it comes to classes, I'm not sure everyone would agree, because there are sort of friendlier people than me, but you know, they can tolerate me in the classes, which doesn't generally happen in the rest of my life. That's not always how things work for me. So obviously something different is happening there, and yeah, and lots of different things going on at once, and lots of different people doing different things, and you kind of got to get in their heads to a certain extent and know what they're aiming for, what they're thinking, and all the things they're tempted to try and do to make it happen, which is simply not going to work. And you know that because you've tried it yourself, and being able to sort of guide people along that, or give people solutions to things, and keeping all those things in your mind at once. It's a big effort. That's why I think a lot of art classes follow this pattern of everyone does what the tutor does, and that's the only choice of what there is to do, and don't even think of getting your own ideas, because that will ruin everything. And you can understand that, you know, and there's some really good people that use that approach.
She just says, "Oh well, now I'm blushing."
Don't worry, I'll make up for it by saying something stupid and insensitive sometime soon. To watch out for, isn't it?
Oh, that's what I'm here for the intermediary
Yeah,
barrier between you and general public.
Yeah, you're just absorbing the flack, aren't you? Like
so that's exactly it. Because we have extremely active brains, we can keep track of them all.
yeah, and that's something I can manage, and then afterwards I'm sort of a bit wiped out. I'm not much use to anyone after I've been teaching. I have to sort of just chill out a bit and take a step back. These whites, as they're appearing now, are making a bit more sense. I've pretty much done the book. I've pretty much done the bottle. I'm not painting well at the moment. I'm not going to lie about it. I'm not happy with it, but I'm doing something, and that's the key thing, is that if I keep doing it, I've had periods of time where I've just painted awfully, like really, really badly, and the only way out is through, as they say, and that was always the approach I took, and it's always worked for me. But there is no sort of quick fix. Just got to, yeah. So this is the thing. I don't know if I can give myself enough time to to get it back in order to produce the next body of work. It's slightly worrying. But not very worrying, you know. Just a little bit of a nuisance. Not be kind of properly on track at the moment.
I don't think it looks bad at all. Those highlights have really made a difference.
Yes, there's little things. So but no, there's things I appreciate the positivity, but there are things about this that I should have done better by now, and I can sense myself being too careful and too fiddly with it, and all of these things are unhelpful. But it's putting me back in touch with those different choices I want to make. Next time I do a painting, I'll remember the last one I was too fiddly, and I'll let myself be a bit more relaxed about it, you know, because it's kind of what it takes, isn't it? Okay, so there's a few interesting things happening here. I've got this lighter color, and I've got this slightly pinky color, and I can see where that goes here. And I'm going to follow that around. And in context, it's going to look almost bluish. And it's also going to give me some of the form of the tomato, some over here as well. And that's going to meet that.
My students in the class call me Queen of Positivity.
Yeah, that'll wear off after a while. Yeah, no, it's very good to know. It is a special skill and not to be underestimated. Not everybody can do it. So, yeah, we will continue to try to nurture that as much as possible. It's a valuable thing to have. So I have kind of promised Emma some private lessons, as it were. That would be good to get like a little group of people together to do some stuff. But it's interesting how many simple things are within people's reach, especially if you're, you know, a practicing artist and you're putting time and effort into it and taking it seriously. And yet, to sort of give yourself the permission to do it is still really hard. There's this idea that, oh no, well, I don't know if I'm allowed to do that. And yeah, it's kind of, it's a good thing that that we have a community, if you like, of people that know each other, and, you know, like people who go to classes together and all that kind of thing. It's all a part of that general effort to give each other permission to be creative and to figure things out and share knowledge and all that kind of thing. And yeah, it's very nice you'd find the time to drop in on the live stream as well. Now, the highlights on these tomatoes I'm going to work towards gradually. So the first thing is to mark up roughly where they go.
You have somebody that you kind of go to for sort of artistic help of occasion?
Not a specific person, no. The thing is, I've always been quite autodidactic in that. I'm just going to explain what that word means for you, because before you have to ask. Someone who's autodidactic is it's a limitation. It's also a skill. So it's somebody who teaches themselves things. So I'm formally self-taught in many things. Mm-hmm. When I say formally self-taught, I have learned the way. I've learned from sort of the knowledge of the masters, as it were. Probably not as well as if I'd had a teacher, but if you give me a teacher, it just doesn't fit. Mm-hmm. You know, I need to kind of follow my own path. So it's a limitation in that if I'm going to learn something, I've got to learn it my way or I don't learn it. But because of that, I know how to teach myself things. Mm-hmm. So I can come across something difficult and work through it you know. So, but music, you know, it's not, I didn't figure it all out. It was all in books and this, that, and the other. But what I was playing with and what I was working with at any one time, I kind of had to do by myself. And it's difficult because sometimes, you know, people would generously offer to teach you something, and you sort of have to. So what I have to do is to find people and quiz them about the things I want to know at that time, and go, how are you doing this? What materials are you using for this? What's the process for this? And then I go away and play with it. I can't do it under their someone else's observation or the idea of the, and I think it's this I think it goes all the way back to especially being young and being in school, that there is this way you're meant to learn stuff where you get, you know, you do it well, you get your gold star and all the rest of it, and well done you, and there's no room for failure. There's this sort of, people punish themselves for what they perceive as failure. But in the arts and in the sciences, you know, a failed experiment is an experiment that you've completed, and that's useful, and that's valuable. But if it's all internal, if it's a science experiment, you could write it up and go, we did these things and this is what the results were. So you've done your job properly, and big tick, well done, show you're working. Shame the experiment didn't work out. But with art, and they go, what happened there? You go, I don't know. That's, or you try and explain it and you can't quite put it into words. So you end up kind of shutting yourself off and going, this is the thing I have to do privately. It's a self-referential thing. What's been really interesting, especially with teaching, is that you start to analyze how it is you do things. You know, what is going to, you know, what's actually happening. You kind of, you sort of take apart a process, because you have to do that in order to share it with other people. And I'm approaching this orangey color now, and it's going to start getting brighter, especially around here. And the paint's going to get thicker. And I need to be confident and bold with it.
Well, you want more red in the world.
Yeah, and that's part of my mission here. It's to make things more red generally. I think it's a positive colour. I think it livens people up. I think we need a bit of that. There we are. I'm embarrassed about my outburst now.
We all have them. As artists go, that was quite tame.
Really? I have noticed that people love a tantrum. I've worked on them a bit. An artistic tantrum. That was an exasperation at the considerate nature of other people. Oh, is that too pink? No, I think that's okay, actually. Even go a little bit paler. It should still be pinker. All right. So really subtle changes at this point. Have I lost the shape in doing that? Okay. I'm still on the same brush, but I'm going all the way to this orangey colour now. It's a bit paler. There's going to be some in there. Here. Some in here. I've got the bright highlights on top, so that's going to...
Emma's just said, see, I'd want to do that gorgeous red-orange first.
Yeah, and I know we all would. And, you know, sometimes it's worth putting it in just so you've got a placeholder for that colour. But,
she started instant gratification,
yeah,
dopamine inducing.
Yeah, it's exactly that. You know what? I think I need to stop talking, and we need to get Emma on a live mic to actually commentate on this. I think she's far more switched on to what's happening than I am. No, that's not red enough. I can go redder. I'm going to go pull on a alizarin in here because it's a cooler red. Got that edge, that's nice. Pop a bit in here. So
I like that statement of dopamine inducing.
It is. Well, I think that's
Wonderful.
a big part of what's happening when you're painting as well. So you are kind of chasing this thrill of watching this magic happen in front of your eyes. Much yellow? Yellow at the top up here. There you are. So a lot of what makes the red happen is context. Now, if I go back in, there's some fitting stuff around. Yeah.
She said, I do lives on TikTok. That's insane sometimes.
What live? Oh, live TikTok videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get the sense there's too many people on TikTok. I don't like the idea of anybody really watching this. I try and stay away from the people. In the early days of the internet, just figuring out how to get online and stuff. And I think the first thing I ever tried was AOL, because there was a CD thing. You stick it in the machine, it does it. And I thought, okay, let's see what this is all about. And it was interesting because it was AOL had decided to pretend that it owned the internet, that it was its idea, and you had to go to AOL, and that's how you found anything.
Yep.
And it was just a browser, but it had all these sort of things they stuck on to make it usable for people. I can kind of understand all of that, and so they had these sort of things of like, are you interested in this or this or this, and they'd have chat rooms and things like that, and it was before the internet was poisonous, so it really was. There was a chat room about, I don't know, whatever it was, pop music or whatever. And there's people there chatting about pop music because that's sort of, otherwise they wouldn't have clicked on it. That's what they wanted to do, and that's what it did. No trolling or anything like that. It's sort of rather a blissful time in a way. But I can remember like looking through these things, going, "What on earth is all this stuff?" And there was one that said art and antiques, and I clicked on it, and there was nobody there.
Yeah.
And then this other person, like name popped up and said hi. And I said, "Do you mind? I'm having some time to myself." And I've laughed at that ever since. And yeah, it's terrible laughing at your own jokes, but there you go. I was really pleased with that. I was just sort of having a look around, so I didn't want to get caught up in trying to have some awkward internet conversation with someone about art and antiques.
AOL still going?
I guess it probably is. I mean, there's still going to be some very old people who use it, but it was short for America Online, so it was very US centric. So I stopped using it quite quickly, especially after I got a message with someone, because it had put down like, "Where do you live?" And I just put London. Even then, the idea of putting personal details and your address online didn't seem sensible. And this person sent me a message saying, "Is the new shopping centre open yet?" I said, "Well, what are you talking about?" They said, "Well, it says you live in London." I said, "It's a big place." And it turned out there's a London in Ohio or somewhere like that, and why on earth would it be someone from across the Atlantic? And so I guess
how can you be using America Online?
Exactly. Yeah, it was a bit of that. So that was quite funny. But yes. Anyway, where was I? This is getting closer now. I'm starting to see it. I'm going to get those brighter highlights in.
I just find it fascinating that the internet used to scream at you when you wanted to use it.
What, sorry? Oh, yeah. Well, I remember those noises from before, because when you had little home computers and you had to load a program on a cassette.
Yeah.
And it would go, you know what? People would really love to hear the noise of the data going across. They wouldn't want that muted, would they? Make sure that's played at full volume out of the computer while the program's loaded, which takes about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
They wanted the comfort of knowing it was working. So, yeah. No, it's a crazy thing, isn't it? How
Well, apparently there's a Sherborne in the US too.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, they've come up with very few of their own names, which is a shame because the actual names.
Well, they were spawned off like New England because
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
where it came from, wasn't it? Like first
The
people went across
imported
New
names, they
England
didn't
and
come up with anything new. You know, they didn't sort of describe anything in the way that, you know, you'd have Newport and stuff in this country, and it was clearly named that because once upon a time it was a new port, and so that's why it got called that, and then that name stuck. But they didn't sort of name anything by the features around it, or sort of, you know, something, a coombe or something means a hill. You know, a lie is a valley. You know, these are all sort of. No, that's not right. But they didn't do any of that. You know, they just used existing names, unless it was Native American names for things, which are absolutely the best ones. It's so subtle, these changes at this point, but I can get them right. That's the last bit of the pale greens, and I'm going to keep some of the same pale greens, just a slightly stronger version of what's already there. And this is going to be very simple. We'll get them on the right side of the shadows. Now, okay, there's one last thing. So I say one last thing. I say that a lot, don't I? It's going to be a few last things. I've got this deep red here. I'm going to put even a little bit of blue into that, just to darken it, make it a bit more purple. We've got some of these shadows on the tomatoes of shadows of the sort of the spikes of the little leaves that come out. There, let's have that there. Any more dark head on that would be helpful. A bit brighter and yellower than this.
Emma's just also said, if I held my brush like that, it would be all over the place.
Well, you'd be surprised. I disagree. I think if you held the brush at the end, you'd realise how much control you have.
It's like with chopsticks, you hold those right at the very end, don't you?
Yeah. So there's an interesting thing. I bumped into an old student the other day who, when they came to me, I don't know if it was a passing thing, but and you know, I didn't even ask, but they had a tremor, just a natural tremor that their hand shook when they were going to paint, and so they were trying to control it and sort of holding their hand steady like this, and I said, well, just hold the brush at the end, just rest it on the surface, and they did that, and their hand's still shaking, but the end of the brush wasn't going anywhere. So putting a brush on and just letting it drag down the surface based on its own weight, it's going to make much more natural marks. Ooh, I'll turn that green up a little bit. That's enough spikiness there. I'm not going to do any more to that. I think that's spiky enough. I think maybe I could kind of get a bit more light just going around the top. There you go. A little extra splash of light just here. I mean, I could keep fiddling forever, but there you go. I think that's kind of there. Last things I could do. Go back to these greens. I think I could really try and control some of this. This bottle shape. Express some of the bottleness as it goes. That's better actually, isn't it? This sort of seems to spread out too. While I've got that, sharpen up that edge there. Yeah. Okay. I'm feeling a bit better about this now. I've cheered up slightly. I'll stand back and look at it again and go, oh no, I hate it again. There you go. I'm talking about this reflected light. At 9 o'clock.
It is.
Did that well.
Weird. Before, isn't it?
It's still weird to me how it just falls into that time scale. Yeah. The bongs at the end of it. Till the bongs. I can keep painting until the bongs are over. Bong.
To trust the process, as Emma has just put.
Yeah. There you go. Well, thank you for coming and keeping us company, Emma, and for your input.
Perhaps you'd want to do a sit for a portrait one evening.
Yeah. Well, there's sort of family commitments and stuff like that, but just as a general thing, I'm not aiming at anybody, but I do want to do some more portraits. So if you know anybody, or if you would like to sit for a portrait and see what happens, and be at the mercy of my unforgiving brush, then then yeah, do get in touch. There we go. Signature. What should I sign it in? Red or green? I think green. It's going to be a green signature. So it sort of hides a bit. Yeah. Ta-da! Is my tea still hot? Yes.
Winner. We should probably do that phone thing, shouldn't we?
Yes. So there's another scene there, which is just the phone camera on its own.
Yep. When you're ready to go.
Oh, hang on. Hang on. Got to get all the green off it now. No. Yes. Cheeky. Okay. Are we on the...
we are on the main phone.
So I'll go right in. My bottle. There is a little smudge here for a bit of a lemony. Yeah. Yeah. There's my bottle. There's my tomatoes.
A lemony, it's an olive.
Is it an olive?
Well, it's olive oil, isn't it?
Oh, of course it is. Book I'm quite pleased with, and that thing with the pages again, which I did a couple of weeks ago when I did a book. But yeah, I quite like it. So there you are, a bit more red in the world, which I think...
Yeah, those tomatoes are really good.
Yeah, I was quite pleased with that in my way. Much as I'm ever pleased with anything. Yeah, that was good to be back at it. I haven't been doing a lot of painting in recent months, just because there's been all this sort of work stuff and been depressing me. I'm not 100% sure about the shadow, but I don't think you really look at it. I think it's vague enough, but I might go back to the shadow later on if I'm not 100% on it. But there you go. Yeah, but thank you for joining me, and thanks, Graham, for your technical
showing up.
Yeah, your technical efforts.
Yeah,
that's probably the kindest word I can use,
yeah.
isn't it? And to those of you who announced yourselves and joined in, appreciate it.
We did have like you'd be pleased to know that you've had a few people that really want to buy your artwork.
Oh, that's good news.
Yeah.
I was going to say the things I don't really want to part with the things, so I thought well, maybe if there's some way I could make it into a digital, maybe non-fungible token.
Non-fungible token, yeah.
Maybe they'll buy those, and I could get my hands on some of that lovely cryptocurrency that everyone's talking about.
Well, you will because he'll pay for it with the cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
So therefore, you'll get your hands on that as well.
That would be perfect. Yeah, I'd like to know where I can mint them though. That would be really useful if they told you that.
Yeah.
It maybe gave you a link of where you can go and mint them so that they can buy them afterwards, which they definitely will do. Yeah. That would be good to know. So yeah.
And also you've got some introductions for some new viewers as well on Stream.
Oh yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We just have to remove the space.
Well, I don't want that. No new viewers, thank you. There's plenty as it is.
He has no idea about this channel, does he?
Frankly, too many, more than I'm comfortable with as it is. So, yeah. Right. Someone wasn't paying attention.
Wonderful. Good night, all.